folks. Welcome to the feature race for round one of the North American Grand Prix GT2 Championship, coming to you live from Sebring International Raceway in Florida. We're just waiting for the grid to be finished up here. The grid's just being set. But before we get any further into this, welcome back, Brad Maris. Brad, welcome to the broadcast. We missed you last week. Brad, not sure if you got that.
Oops, sorry, Al. Yes, I just said thank you. I said thank you. It's so great to be back, Al, and thanks to Rich as well for filling in last week. You did a great job, and always nice to hear Rich and his insightful commentary.
Yeah, Rich did a wonderful job filling in for you last week. We thank him for that. But it's great to have you back here tonight. You missed a great race at Sebring. Not without its incidents, but I should say the racing itself, once it settled down, was pretty spectacular. As Alex White and Andres Prieto put on a show at the start. Actually, all the way through to the end there. It was pretty tight.
Yeah, I had the opportunity actually to check out the broadcast while I was on assignment. I was able to fit it in, and you're absolutely right. There was some great action in that race, and unfortunately there was some not so great action as well, but I'm sure we'll have the opportunity to get into a little bit of that as the night goes on here.
Yeah, we'll be sure to run down all the penalties that are going to be dished out from last week. But like we mentioned, we're just waiting for the grid to be set here. We should be ready to go momentarily. And once this qualifying session moves over, we'll be able to jump in. It's kind of the program we use to set the grid is limited to the amount of people that can be in there for it to work. So that's why we have to wait outside, and then once we're ready to get once that's set, we can jump back. Everybody else can jump back in there. We're expecting quite a large field here tonight. At least 36 drivers, competitors tonight, new people, old people. Should be a good event tonight, Brad.
Yeah, indeed. It's going to be a full field. It's also going to be a pretty darn competitive field, too, judging by some of the times. And, of course, this is really the first week, Part B, as we did have our qualifying race last week. So the guys maybe that were a little bit off the pace surely will have picked some up. I don't know if Alex White there, who won our qualifying race last week, can improve much on his timer. I'm not sure there's too much room for improvement from him, but there could be a few guys behind him that have picked up a little bit of pace. So I expect that it should be a pretty tight field here tonight, but it's also going to be over the course of 2 hours, so endurance is going to count a lot for these guys as well.
Well, you mentioned 2 hours. It is a long race tonight. It should go 56 or 57 laps. Most likely we'll go 56. A lot can happen. I suspect that Prieto and White will once again check out if they're able to get away clean. Got to keep your eye on Moses, who had a good run there to finish third, but I just don't think he's going to have the pace to keep up with those guys. Neither is Marty Uran or Jaime Moore, for example. He's another guy who finished well, finished fourth in the qualifying race, but doesn't look like those guys are going to have the pace to keep up with the top two.
Well, I think Chris Moses is going to be held back by his car choice here, not by the car choice in general, but at this particular track. I'm not sure that the Mercedes-Benz SLS that Chris Moses is driving is going to be able to quite maintain the pace of, like you say, Alex White or Andres Prieto. But knowing Chris, he's certainly going to give it a shot. Marty Uran, hard to say. You wouldn't think that, given the pace last week, that he might have a strong shot here, but I think it's a possibility. He's not going to have to pick up too much time here, and I think that Marty Uran's McLaren will be in pretty good shape. Now, Jaime Moore was a great story there from our qualifying race last week in the Porsche 997. He will be docked a few grid positions from what would have otherwise been a great start there in fourth, but Jaime Moore, I think, could show some great pace in this race and put in a great result as well if he happens to stay out of any extracurricular fricases.
Yeah, he we'll show that a little later, but yeah, some of those guys, some of the guys actually all throughout the grid are a little. It's been a long layoff here before last week, and at least a month, and a lot of these guys are just little excited to start get the season underway, and well, it showed. It was on display as quite a few incidents at the opening parts of that race, especially going into the hairpin. Couple incidents, one pretty major incident, and but let's hope these guys settle down a little bit and realize it's going to be a long one tonight, and just display a little bit more patience. Let's hope.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that it'll be a good, clean race here tonight, and they're in for quite a challenge around the Sebring International Raceway here tonight. It's not a terribly difficult place to drive consistently. But, it's difficult when you're right up on the limit lap after lap to maintain that consistency. And small mistakes here will count for a lot. Trying to maintain momentum through some of these corners, leading onto these long straights. So. A good challenge for these guys tonight, a long one. I think whoever does come away with this one is going to be well deserving of the victory.
So we're just kicked over now. Let's jump in, Brad. So we're in. I'm just going to run through the field here. Make sure I get everybody loaded up. Let's see you make it in there, Brad.
Yeah, I'm in here, Al. For now.
Oh, you are. You're starting fifth. Wow, nice job.
Yeah, that's not too bad. I think somebody dropped, and unfortunately, I took over their assignment. And I'm wondering if I should go ahead and duck out here right fast. Al, what do you think?
Well, you have 3 minutes. Not sure who you replaced. I don't see anybody.
Well, I'll go ahead and duck out and give him a minute to try to jump back in.
Alright, while we wait for that to get underway, let's take a quick look at the track layout for tonight. We're running a new version of Sebring. As I mentioned last week, slightly different than the version we've run in the past. It's new to everyone this season, but curbs are a little bit taller, and most notably that final Ullman straight, turn 17, is it's a little bit shorter, and looks like that final turn's a bit longer. So a bit different than in the past, and have an onboard here from Brad. Let's ride along with Brad and give us a rundown on this track.
First thing we're going to notice is a tricky turn one entrance. Got to pick up that brake mark. A couple car lengths past the pit exit sign. right down to the wall, and early acceleration for your best speed coming off. Very tricky turn 3, 4, and 5 complex. Really want to avoid those curves. As you see, I do not do very well there. But right at the apex, just off the curb, are going to be your best lines around this place. The curbs will really upset the car, particularly on acceleration, so want to avoid that wheel spin. As we come up here to the hairpin complex, we pick up the brake mark just between the 300, 400 foot signs. Slow entry here. Can't get that acceleration too early coming off the hairpin, so nice and tidy there, and the best acceleration you can manage. As we come up into turn 10, Cunningham here. Pretty straightforward right-hand corner, but really got to carry as much speed as you possibly can, as most of these corners are followed by long acceleration zones. So very important to maximize speed. As we come in here to turn 13, Tower, same type of corner here. The braking zone is a bit more of a decreased radius braking zone there than we had at Cunningham. Another tricky entrance coming up here. Car really can become upset as you are turning a little bit on while braking at the same time. And coming here to the long back straight, turn 16 at Le Mans. Got to, you see, I don't manage it too well, but really important to try to aim for the last bit of that curb on the apex and hold that throttle flat as early as possible. Last corner here, Sunset Bend. Very tricky line through here. A lot of guys will be taking different lines. I'm in third gear here on this corner. Eventually, as the braking zone is actually quite long through there and all the way out to the grass. Obviously, can't go too wide there or your race is going to end pretty quickly. And there you have it, one lap at Sebring International Raceway.
So there was Brad in the Lamborghini. Pretty good lap, Brad. What were your thoughts on this new layout?
You know, I like it. It's excuse me, I'm sorry, I had to do a quick volume adjustment there. I like it a lot. I think that there's a little bit less grip than the Sebring International Raceway version we've run here in the past, but overall I think that it's a little smoother, a little easier perhaps to run, a little bit more consistency over the long haul, but at the same time there's a little less grip out there. And I think it makes also for a bit tighter racing also. The apexes and coming off corners, all those lines are a little bit tighter. So it makes for some good racing, good tests.
Well, we're about to move over to the warm-up. Well, we got some time here. Let's take a rundown of well, before we do that, why don't we for all our viewers out there, if you go to NorthAmericanGP.com, click on up at the top the GT2 live timing right at the top, click on that and it'll bring you to the live timing page. You can follow your favorite driver throughout the night's event, lap times, gaps, nice little tool. So if you want to follow your driver, if we're not highlighting them at the time, you can see where they are on track.
Yeah, always difficult, of course, to cover all of the action here in a field this deep, so that's a great resource to have. And should probably mention at the same time for all of our viewers there on Twitch TV, if you like what you're seeing, make sure you go ahead and click that follow button and let us know any thoughts or feedbacks you have on that broadcast or anything else you happen to see tonight.
Alright, so we're about to we're in warm-up. Looks like pretty good conditions, but let's run down the penalties from last week, Brad. What do you say? First off, we're gonna start with the start of last week's race. We got a couple guys, AJ Balin, a couple new guys, and Alejandro Nieto. Right out of the gate. This is a little side-by-side action here, but you can see AJ gets into the back of, looks like Savoy, and AJ with a slow start, and it looks like he was in the wrong gear, causing a bit of a schmozzle, as you would call it, Brad.
It's hard to say exactly what happened there to AJ, but I suspect it was something like that, a wrong gear or something, and I think it was trying to actually get out of the way, but it may not have helped any, you know, it could have gone either direction or not, and it probably would have caused the same result. So I'm sure he'll clean that up this week.
So both guys getting grid spot penalties. Next guy, Jaime Moore, with a great start, but a little over-aggressive start. Makes contact with Dave Rowley, who in turn hits the wall, suffering some damage. Rowley not too happy about that. He's gets a little flash on the lights, but could have been a little more careful there at that start. And for that, he received a 5 grid spot penalty.
Yeah, and this type of contact, I don't think Jaime was even able to feel at the time. At least that was his expression on the event, but obviously the replay pretty clearly shows what transpired there, so got to be more careful on the start.
Next up we have John Wathen just losing it. Turn 1, collects a couple of, looks like a Viper, suffered quite a bit of damage, and as a result was given a penalty for this, a grid spot penalty for Wathen. Next up, David Poole. Poole's penalty was a little harsher. Dave starting from the back of the field tonight, under acceleration, gets into the back of Alex Scott, and Scott goes into the wall and suffers terminal damage in his race. So that's why David Poole is starting from the back. Next up, Mikey Monahan. This is at the carousel. I'm sorry, the hairpin. We have gets into the back of David Poole. This is after David Poole rejoined. Mike Monahan just saves his break a little too late. Gets into the back of David. David suffers some contact, and almost a replay of Monahan. This is Ian Jolicoeur once again braking way too late going into the hairpin. And this was a little bit worse, as a lot more cars were collected and suffering damage. So this is what we're hoping to avoid going into tonight's race. So hopefully these guys can get their act together tonight.
Yeah, and I'm sure that they will. It's just a matter of cold breaks and a long layoff for these guys, and there's no question that they want to drive cleaner, and is definitely a one-off event, I think, here. So, hey, it happens, and these guys will take it to heart, and we'll move on with our business here, which is good, clean racing.
So next up here, we got a couple guys. Kevin Savoie dumps Schubeck, who in turn gets he gets spun around. Savoie moved to the back of the pack for this move, and at the same time you see Sam Rolfe get into the side of the Ferrari, and one of the looks like a McLaren. He just threw it in there a little too late. Ambitious move, and collects those guys. So Sam Rolfe with the 10 grid spot penalty. So Sam Rolfe in that orange panos. So not the start we were hoping for, but at the same time we kind of anticipated something like that could happen. But perfect. Warm-up has ended. And we're about ready to go racing. Alex White out on track. Andres Prieto. Marty Uren. I should mention we do have a new penalty scoring system, which we'll touch on a little later. Try to explain it for some of the guys who are unsure, but basically it's going to be a point system for first lap contacts, and if you accumulate so many points, you earn yourself a nice penalty. So hoping to try and clean up the starts here, especially in GT2. It seems a little rougher than GT1, but we'll see. Season's still early. But we're ready to race. Track temperature 90° Fahrenheit, ambient 72 degrees. Sunny conditions, so it's looking good. Good day for racing. Let's run it down. It's going to be a big grid here, Brad. So here we go. It's from pole, Alex White starting first. Second, Andres Prieto. Chris Moses third. Marty Uren fourth. And Salem Montgomery Jr. is going to start fifth.
Marco Conti starts 6th, John Houston starts 7th, Juan Monroy starts 8th, Kevin Miller starts 9th, and Christian Hamilton starts 10th.
11th, Jaime Moore. Jack Ivey starting 12th. Great start for Jack. Dan Wilkerson 13th, Phil Hooks 14th, Greg Myers 15th, and Thomas Schubeck 16th. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brent.
As mentioned.
Got ahead of myself.
As mentioned, Thomas Schubeck in 16th, Mike Monahan's in 17th, Brian Story in 18th, Mike Trussler's in 19th, Rodrigo Triana in 20th.
21st, Alejandro Nieto. 22nd, Ian Joe LaCour. 23rd, Aaron Parsons. 24th, Esteban Palacio. 25th, AJ Balin. Gotta get him to fix his name. 26th. Oh, I did it again, Brad. Go ahead.
John Wathen starts 26th, David Poole starts 27th, Mike Graytrick starts 28th, Kevin Savoie starts 29th, and Chuck Carter's in 30th.
31st, John Mold. Matt Taylor, 32nd. 33rd, welcome back, Robert Firicano, filling in for Johnny Lugnuts. 34th, Ravi Monogaran. 35th, Felipe Triana. And bringing up the rear, David Canavan filling in for David Raleigh. So, pretty large grid here tonight. We're about to get underway, Brad.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to be a good one. I'm interested to see if Alex White's going to hold up this pace for a whole 2 hours.
We're about to go green for round 1, 2 hours of Sebring here in GT2 at North American Grand Prix, and we're off. As once again, Prieto with the whole shot, same as last week on White. He's going to lead the field into turn 1. As one of the Lambos ran wide there, so far looking pretty good going into 1. Ooh, as one of the Astons goes off, not sure who that is. Looks like that was AJ Balin has gone off. Don't know if that was assisted or not. Prieto continues to lead the field. Ooh, a little ugly at the exit of the hairpin, and White's going to get a run on him. Going into Cunningham. Looks like Prieto's going to hang on to it. Nice job by Andres. Rest of the field.
Well, quick update out.
Pretty good. Go ahead.
Look like AJ Balon unfortunately is into the pits, so it looks like it's going to be a DNF for AJ Balon. However, I think the rest of these guys have gotten the message. There are a few bruises out there, but I don't see any broken bones out.
Yeah, running through the field looks pretty good. That's Alex White, unable to match the speed of Prieto down the Elman Straight. Ooh, they might have had a little bit of contact. See if White can get a run off Prieto. This is where he made the move on him last week. Looks like he may. Did it on the outside. Let's see if he tries it again. He's going to take a look. Looks like he's going to get it. Ooh, gets a little wide. And looks like Andre's going to hang on to it. White with a bit of a slide, allow Moses to creep up on him.
Yeah, very interesting. I'm kind of watching just in breathless anticipation here. Andres is really going to be keen to try to stay out in front of Alex White this time for a bit longer if he can. Try to hold off the charging tide for as long as possible.
Yeah, if this is any indication how the race is going to go, man, for 2 hours, I don't know if these guys are going to be able to maintain this pace. I think it's just a matter of time before White gets by, though. Alex White in the BMW Z4. Preto driving the Gumpert. Wow, a little further back, Marty Uran. It's almost a replay of last week as Uran hanging on to the back of Moses. Montgomery Jr. also. McLaren's 4 and 5. And Jaime Moore has moved up to P6. Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, quick update. Marco Conti in the garage. Marco Conti out of this race. Not sure what's going on. And hello to Andres on chat. Looks like it does look very cloudy out there, but the forecast calls for sun.
As White taking a look again on the outside going into the final corner. Ooh, White with a big slide. Ooh, manages to hang on to it. Wow. As it does look a bit overcast at the moment. White, I don't think he's going to be close enough to make the move on Andre this time around. Because Andre might have caught a piece of that inside retaining wall.
You know, I think Alex White might be better served here, and he may not be, but there's no reason really to push here for Alex White. He knows he's likely going to have speed on Andres, so no need to do too much forcing of the issue here for Alex White early. Yeah, still, of course, battles continuing throughout this field.
Yep, it's John Houston with a great start. Alex White, though, still giving Andre all he can handle. Oh, with a little up and under move, and nope, not going to get it done. Wow, what a battle early on. Side by side around the chicane, and White powers by Andre. Let's see if Andre can answer down the straight. It's not going to help him. A big slide there through that chicane. That Gumpert's pretty quick down the in a straight line. Still unable to close the gap on White.
It certainly can be. Knowing Andres, he certainly has that thing trimmed out pretty hard, so I can't imagine he's running too much rear wing on that Gumper.
So the top 5 have checked out a bit. From P6, Juan Monroy. Juan Monroy, Andres Preto's teammate. These guys, Team Columbia, last season's champions. Team champions, getting the job done early on. This would be huge for these two. Let's take a look further back. Jaime Moore looks like he was running 6 for a little bit. Passed by Moore, but let me tell you, Kevin Miller up to P8, running in the top 10.
Yeah, and if you didn't mention it, Al, I was going to step over you and mention it myself because that is a great run. Kevin Miller had himself a nice qualifying race, started in 12th for this race, and now up to 8th. So looking very sharp, holding good pace here.
And we should mention he qualified pretty far back on the grid. So he worked his way up in the qualifying race and now finds himself in P8 in the feature. So a great start for Kevin, for sure. As John Houston also getting the job done for T-Brock Bam Bam, him and Aaron Parsons teammates.
And it's nice to see John. Yeah, nice to see John Houston back up there where we have been mentioning him in seasons past. It's been a little while since we've seen him up running this strong, so good to see.
Ooh, as Parsons takes it off track, we just saw the dust kick up. And I'm not sure what happened there. He might have gone off on his own. I don't think anybody got into the back of him, but he rejoins in 19th. So, tough start to the season for Parsons. And to be honest with you, To be honest with you, Brad, sorry to cut you off, but a little bit surprised by his pace in this Audi.
Well, and that was the same thing I was going to observe, Al. It's a car that he's not unfamiliar with either, by the way. So you'd think that this Audi would be a pretty good, strong competitor around here, but so far not so good for Aaron Parsons. A lot of time to go yet, though. He'll surely make up some spot.
Yeah, he is very good. Excellent pit strategist, so he's very good in and out of the pit. So we'll keep an eye on him and see where he ends up. But looking further up here, let's keep our eye out front as Alex White and Pareto continue to run away. Looks like Marty Uren has gotten past Chris Moses for third. So Moses running fourth and Montgomery running in P5 on board with Salem as he tries to reel Moses in.
Yeah, nothing wrong with Salem Montgomery up there in that top 5. That boy is running very well here tonight.
Moses with that, sliding that Mercedes out of that corner as is typical. So we talked about Kevin Miller. Kevin Miller's he's fallen back to P10. So broadcaster's curse. Not sure if he made a mistake or what, but looks like Alejandro Nieto, newcomer here at NAGP, already up to P9 and having a great start to this race.
Yeah, indeed. I was going to mention him as well, and looking just a little further back, another guy I wanted to make mention of was Thomas Schubeck, now running in 13th, just behind Ian Jolicoeur, and putting a little bit of pressure on Ian for that 12th spot.
Dan Wilkerson running in P11. I tell you, him, Dan and Matt Taylor in the Viper, showing quite a bit of pace here in practice and in this race, as the Wilkerson now running P11, chasing down Kevin Miller for that 10th spot. Looks like Wilkerson's going to get a run on Miller. Miller in that new Aston Martin that's new to the car pack this season. Sharp looking car.
Indeed, and how great is it to mention Kevin Miller and Daniel Wilkerson and some of these names running around the top 10, some of these top 10 positions. Really great to see some of these guys starting to stretch their NAGP leg.
Absolutely. As Ian Jolicoeur has worked his way up to P12 in that McLaren. And there you go. Thomas Schubeck, you mentioned him, running at P13 ahead of Mike Monahan. So Schubeck having a great run. I see Kevin Savoy making his way through the field. Him and Rodrigo Triana. The Porsche's doing battle. Savoy looks like he's getting a run on Rodrigo here, going into Cunningham. It's the same place he had that incident with Schubeck. Side by side. Ooh, great pass by Savoy. Wow, right along the outside. Well done. Good job by Rodrigo as well.
Yeah, indeed. Great driving by both guys. Had a quick update. Unfortunately, John Wathan has taken a DNF and is out of this race. So no race 1 feature race for John Wathan tonight.
Well, tough break for Wathan. Meanwhile, David Poole started from the back, running in P17. Well, surprised to see Poole this far back, as Savoy and some of these other guys who started further back have really made up quite a bit of ground these early laps, but Poole is languishing back at 17th and
well,
a bit off the pace.
You know, it's sorry, Al. It's really just a question sometimes of the positions that you can pick up and do it safely. I think David understands that there's a lot of time here tonight, and he's not going to take any chances, incur any penalties like that. And I think that's the right thing to do in this situation. Everybody looked like they were pretty careful. David Poole just may not have been able to pick up those positions as easily.
So Parsons remains in 18th, unable to make up any ground as he's feeling the heat from Matt Taylor. Matt Taylor's got a little bit of damage on the front of his Viper. Not sure where that contact came from, but Taylor giving Parsons all he can handle.
Yeah, very interesting. I was looking at that myself, and it should be noted that Alejandro Nieto is also still running very well now, putting pressure on John Houston for the 8th position.
So big slide by Parsons going into the chicane. Further up we see Savoy and Schubeck and Triana. Triana has gotten by Schubeck. These two had quite the fight last week in the qualifying race, and it continues in the feature. David Poole has managed to catch up to these guys and join the battle.
Yeah, that is one heck of a battle going on. I do want to give a quick update toward the front. I've been keeping my eyeball on it. Andres Prieto has not let Alex White go here. Andres Prieto hanging about a half second off of Alex White's bumper, so still hanging tough with the BMW.
Savoy makes the move on Schubeck in the chicane, so Schubeck could have made it difficult for Savoy, but elected not to, so good job by Schubeck there. And Poole now getting a run on Schubeck. Let's see if he's able to make this pass at the end of the Ulman Straight. So Poole having a look on the inside of Schubeck. Schubeck runs really wide, so made it easy for Poole. And now Parsons creeping up on Schubeck. Schubeck sinking like a rock.
Well, there's plenty of time to go yet, and Schubeck generally does a great job of keeping things clean and on track. So if there's any possibility of getting into the points, Thomas will definitely do that by the end of the night.
Schubeck with a flash of the lights, going to let Parsons by. I think Schubeck knows his goal is to get in the points, which is big here. So, that team championship is what they're vying for, PMR. Schubeck and Chris Moses. So Schubeck still, night's still early. Got a lot of work ahead of him, so we'll see how he ends up here at the end of the night. But Matt Taylor now putting the pressure on Schubeck in that Viper. Furicano back. Season 17 champion, GT2 champion, or 18, I forget. But had quite the layoff. But he is back, substituting for, I believe, Johnny Lugnut or Liquid Lou Mascarelli, who are not around this evening. On a motorcycle trip somewhere, from what I understand. But Robert filling in, and currently running in P20. So nice to see Robert back. Brian Story missing his rear clip. Greg Myers up to P21. You know, Jack Ivey started up 12th. I don't see him not in the top 20. Christian Hamilton running 23rd. He's fallen back. Canavan running at P24. I'm a little surprised by that. I'd expect Canavan to be a little further up the grid by now.
Yeah, hard to say. Maybe he got involved in some type of altercation or something. Hey there, Promar, by the way. Thanks for tuning in. Or possibly just didn't get much practice in. But I suspect it's a case of maybe getting involved with something.
Furicano and Palacio side by side as they approach the hairpin. Looks like Palacio, that Jag, gonna power by, but Furicano gonna take a look on the inside. Think better of it. Just couldn't get the run on Palacio. That Jag got quite a bit of grunt. Not so sure about this pick for Chow Mein Moto this season, Brad. I'll be honest.
Well, they obviously saw something in the Jag that they liked, and they're going to run it. So, they have the option of switching cars to any cars that are open and available up to the 5th round of the championship. So, should they wish to do so, they still can, and incur a one-race penalty, weight ballast penalty.
Palacio got up on the curbs there, but managed to save it as he gets a run on Canavan and makes the pass. Wow, so nice move by Palacio.
Yeah, and not too surprising, Esteban's going to make those types of moves, and while you check out that great action, I'll give you a quick update. Andres Prieto is now 1.5 seconds off the back of Alex White. However, Chris Moses and Salem Montgomery Jr. still in lockstep over the 4th position. In fact, Salem Montgomery Jr. has just passed Chris Moses for the 4th position.
So we just picked that up. Wonder if how that Mercedes is starting to wear now as we get pretty deep into this first stint.
Yeah, I suspect that those tires are starting to wear on them a little bit, and I think the effect on track is obvious. Hey there, Kreshnik, thanks for tuning in.
Currently working lap 10. Expect these guys to come in on lap 14. But Montgomery has gotten past and is looks like he's sailing away from Moses, and Moses is going to worry about Monroy, who's starting to pick up some ground on him.
Yeah, very interesting. Chris ordinarily will just push as hard as he absolutely can, so I got to think that this is his type of pace. He's not the type to hold back and conserve a little bit, so I think we're seeing what Chris Moses has got here toward the end of these stints.
Further up front, Alex White continues to lead this first stint here at Sebring.
Yeah, that gap to Andres Prieto now out to about 2 seconds or so. That gap has just opened up about another second here in the last couple laps. So Andres Prieto sliding off the pace a little bit.
Possibly sliding off, or could have made a mistake, but we'll keep an eye on that gap. As you mentioned, current fast lap of the race owner is Alex White with a 59.1. Prieto not far back with a 59.1 also. So these guys pretty close in regards to lap times.
Indeed, and it was a 58.9 for Alex White in the qualifying race with lower fuel on board. So they're just about there on their low fuel best lap.
John Houston running in P9, starting to reel in Alejandro Nieto. So Houston doing a great job in the Audi. Joe LaCour running in 10th on his own. Savoie has now made it up to P11 as this mid-pack battle from 12th to I'd say about 17th is incredibly tight. We got Monahan, Parsons, Kevin Miller, Rodrigo Triana, Dan Wilkerson, David Poole, and Matt Taylor, and Thomas Schubeck at the tail end. All nose to tail here. This is pretty great stuff.
Yeah, intense action. I tell you, the guy in that group I'm really impressed with is David Poole here. He has not picked up a bunch of positions. He's certainly faster than, as we see the Porsche go off. I don't think that David Poole, I would think that he has pace on this field, but he has really taken his time, being careful out there and picking them off as he can. I'm really impressed with this drive by David from the back.
Yeah, we caught Rodrigo Triana go off momentarily, and that allowed David Poole to get past. And now Matt Taylor's looking to get a run on Triana. Back on board with Taylor in the Viper.
Yeah, David Poole's going to have some difficulty with that Viper down the straight, I should think. Though the McLaren is no slouch, the Viper is pretty darn fast. That gets it done.
Poole gets past Wilkerson for that 15th spot, so Poole moving up in the points paying positions. Parsons now up to 14th, about to put the move on Monahan. Monahan probably not going to make it easy for him. He does not. Monahan does a good job of protecting that inside line.
No. Monahan will not make it easy on Aaron or anybody in the field for that matter.
On board with Parsons. Parsons takes a look on the inside.
As we watch that battle, Andres, to answer your question, the new guys in the field are doing pretty damn good tonight.
Ooh,
and for any of our
as David Poole with a bit of a lurch. Hey, I'm not sure if we just caught the end of that. I'm not sure if he got help or just. Ooh, as Triana goes off again with a slide, I might have been a little bit of contact there. As these guys are getting a little bit antsy here late in this first stint. So a lot of positions could be made up in a short amount of time. I think these guys can realize that, and they're really pushing hard here.
Well, this is going to be very interesting as this race unfolds. Obviously, a lot of these mid-pack guys are very close on speed. There's a couple of guys getting out to a lead, but these guys are going to be around each other the whole night. So pit stops and on-track passes are going to be very important over the course of the next hour and 15 minutes.
As Mike Monahan has made the move on Kevin Miller. He's gotten past. Keep an eye on Parsons here. Let's see if he can get by Miller. Miller currently at P13. Cannot. Greg Myers up to P20. Palacio still back in the 21st spot, so tough night for Esteban. It was a tough night last week. He disconnected from the race, so it's not a good weekend. Canavan has made it up to 22nd. Hamilton and Brian Story going at it. Story muscles his way by Christian for the 23rd spot. And as the rear end of Story's car and the front end have seen better days. Furacano back in 25th. Jack Ivey, there he is. Jack Ivey and Mike Trusler going at it, 26th and 27th. Jack started up in P12, and I'm not sure what happened to him, but he's fallen back all the way to 26, so he lost quite a few positions. John Mold in P28 in the Nissan. Chuck Carter. Chuck Carter made running here tonight. Chuck posted a video on the forum, him and John Wathen driving Chuck's Porsche around I forget the name of the track. I'd be a little nervous after seeing what Wathen did in last week's sprint race. I don't know if I'd let him drive my real car.
Easy.
I'm just busting you, Wathen. He knows.
Well, at the moment, Al, we are 3 wide down the front straight here over the 14th position. So I know you have your field update going, but everybody got through clean. We'll fill you in on the actors here when we can.
Ooh, and the two Vipers side by side. Wilkerson, Matt Taylor. Matt Taylor having a great run. Ooh, both Vipers get by Kevin Miller. Great job by that team. Getting it done.
Yeah, indeed. It's always nice to lock up with a teammate and start going through the field, or kind of trying to be able to protect each other that way. It's kind of a nice feel. Boy, David Poole now suffering a lot of oversteer, I can see on that McLaren now. So I'm wondering maybe if he isn't having some setup issues. I don't know, but these guys should be getting ready, prepared for some pit stops coming up here direct.
Yeah, it looks like Poole might have had a couple issues on the brake. I don't know if it's trying to brake late. It's catching him off guard a little bit as the car wears, but again, just speculation. But
hey there, Kid Tones. Tony Atkins, thanks for tuning in. Sorry.
Tony in the house. Should be on the track, but he's on watching the broadcast. But thanks again, Tony Atkins, for all his great artwork on the site. So anything you see on there, you can thank Tony, because I do not have that skill set to get that type of work done.
Yeah, boy.
Oh, something must have happened.
No, I said, oh boy, you ain't lying about the skill set on that art.
Usually when you go, oh boy, it's something ugly's happened. Well, I'll tell you what, Kevin Miller doing an admirable job here, as he's still in the points, but he's come under some intense pressure from some pretty fast drivers, and he's done pretty well, but he's starting to succumb here late in this first stint. Taking a look at as we should see these guys start to pit. We'll keep an eye on Alex White, see if he decides to come in here at the end of this lap, as we're working lap 15.
It's a real possibility Alex White will take these stints as deep as he possibly can. Of course, we know that BMW gets great fuel mileage and is very good on its tires as well. Just wanted to give a quick update there toward the front. Salem Montgomery Jr. is chasing down Marty Urin, and that gap has stabilized now, but Salem Montgomery Jr. only about 4 seconds off the tailpipe of Marty Urin, so hanging in nicely in that battle over third is Nippon.
So White decides to stay out, as does Andres. We'll see if any of these other guys decide to come in. It looks like Marty's going to stay out.
Yeah. As mentioned, some very important pit stops for these guys around those positions we've been talking about, between 7th and 15th, really, 16th even. So some of these guys not used to kind of strategizing on the fly or making best use of these pit stops could be in trouble if they don't get it sorted quickly.
As Chris Moses has a little contact with one of the lap cars there, that got a little bit out of shape, so that could have been a lot worse. But Moses got some damage now to the front of that car, as Monroy now smelling blood and trying to get past.
Al, haven't mentioned him in a little while, but Alejandro Nieto still turning in a fantastic race there, now running in the 7th position behind Juan Monroy.
So Alejandro, he's got Ian Jolicoeur not too far back, as it looks like Jolicoeur's got a little bit of damage to the front of his car, but looks like that Aston has a bit of damage there, is off the pace. Yeah, it looks like he's got a puncture, so he's going to have to get it into the pit lane real soon. So Houston, tell you what, he's still in the top 10 here late. He's got Kevin Savoy all over the back of him, but just doing a great job fending off Savoy, who's no slouch. He is a very fast driver.
Indeed, and John Houston was turning very similar laps to Kevin Savoy. However, just recently, John Houston has slipped back a little bit on that pace and has allowed Savoy to catch up and challenge for that 9th spot. Oh, big lurch from Kevin Savoy. I don't know if he caught the inside wall coming off of Le Mans, the second to last corner, but in any event, big lurch. Kevin Savoy is not dead, fortunately.
Well, we had just cut away from that when it happened, but looks like it's still rolling here on track. So yet to see anyone come into pit. A little later than expected. Jaime Moore at P11. He's got a little damage to the front of his Porsche. That right front clip, a little concaved. Mikey Monahan running in 12th. Parsons, Matt Taylor continuing to drive well in 14th. As is his teammate Dan Wilkerson, who's got a McLaren all over the back of him. David Poole taking a look on the inside and gets it done. Nice pass by Poole. Good job by Wilkerson to give him room. So temperatures pretty much remain the same. The track time's gone down 1 degree. Great conditions for the start of this season here at Sebring.
Yeah, indeed. The track temperature relatively cool. The ambient temperature definitely cool. So those engines are not going to be overtaxed and will stay nice and healthy.
Kevin Miller now finds himself one spot out of the points as we got Thomas Schubeck trying to reel him in. So Kevin with a great start to the race. It's starting to fade a bit here, but we'll see how he's able to turn it around after the pit stops, which should be coming up relatively soon. Ooh, just as we mentioned that, we saw Miller lose the car, so looks like he might have lost it on his own under braking.
Yeah, as I look at the broadcast, that definitely appears to be the case. Those tires are getting a little overtaxed. Kevin Miller, boy, sure slipping back down the order a little bit here. He's going to have to kind of calm down, reassert control, get the driving control skills going, and get in for some tires and get back after it.
So with that, he's got Palacio now, Myers, and Canavan on his tail. So feeling the heat tonight. Ferracano running a bit wide on the exit of Le Mans and on to the Ultimate Straight, but he is currently P22. Hamilton and Brian Story 23 and 24. Mike Trussler 25th. John Mold running 26th. Chuck Carter and Phil Hooks. Phil, as the leader's trying to get by Chuck. So White will get by as... ooh, Phil! Looks like he lost it in the chicane. I was wondering what happened to him, and he's back. He's got it turned around and he's back at it. So Phil, tough night, running back in P28. So still a long ways to go, Phil.
Phil's night actually started pretty well. Unfortunately, he's slipped back through the field here as this race has progressed. So hopefully he'll be able to recollect himself as well and get back on pace.
Ooh, it looks like he's struggling a little bit as some guys have begun to make their way into the pit lane. Jack Ivey running P29. Ravi Monogran. Mono Garin. Sorry, I'm butchering it. It's a butcher shop. Running P30. So
yeah, Andres Prieto in from the second position.
Prieto is in. Monroy is in. So Team Columbia on the same strategy.
Yeah, and so this cycle will be our first leg of this race. It's going to be interesting to see how this all sorts out as we get ready to run our second leg.
Alejandro Nieto into the pits. So Parsons elects to stay out. So most of the players have elected to stay out. Team Columbia is in. Andre is away, so we're going to have to see how Andre's outlap goes if White decides to pit in. Andre can throw... not sure what the gap is before that pit stop, Brad. I don't know if you caught that, but...
yeah, the gap was right at 4 seconds, just a little under. The last 2 laps before that pit stop Andres made, Alex White ran a couple bad laps there, so I don't know if he was trying to push a little too hard, not getting the pace out of the car he wanted, but in any event, I think gave up a little bit of time to Andres, who is very good in the pit.
Monroy out of the pits. Alejandro Nieto now pulling out of the pits. So John Mold pitting in. Alex White follows suit. So we're going to have to keep an eye on Prieto to see where he comes out in relation to White.
Indeed, and Alejandro Nieto obviously was in a very tight battle as well, so an important pit stop for him also.
Marty Uren in. Montgomery in. Expect Chris Moses to follow suit. He does. Core running in P5. He should expect him to come into the pit lane.
As we watch these pit stops kind of unfold here, guys, I want to make a quick suggestion. If you like what you're seeing there on Twitch, make sure you click that follow button.
So Joe LaCour will assume the lead. He stays out as the rest of the field, the front runners start to pull in. So Houston is in, Savoy is in. Everybody rolling in now.
Yeah, indeed. A couple guys electing to stay out. Ian Jolicoeur, Jaime Moore, Daniel Wilkerson. Ian Jolicoeur we've seen take stints deep pretty regularly. His lap times have not fallen off that
and
much
Andres
from what he was
gets it
running.
done. So Andre with the great out lap, and manages to get out ahead of Alex White.
Yeah, not too surprising. Yeah, Alex White gave up some time there on those in laps, and Andres Prieto really hit a stop.
And I'll tell you what, I think White might have had some contact with, I believe, that Mercedes. It might have been Schubeck on his way out. So I saw some debris fly up there, but great job by Prieto. That's one thing Andre is probably not well known for, is his pit stops, and he is dynamite in the pits. He does very well in and out.
Yeah, the last couple seasons he has really stepped that up very hard. I have a quick update. David Canavan, unfortunately, I did see that he has DNF'd from this race. So David Canavan out. Didn't see what happened.
These guys have come out in the middle of traffic. So as these guys weave their way through, Andres Prieto, Jaime Moore, Joe LaCour now is finally coming to the pits. Jaime Moore, if he elects to stay out, will end up leading the race, but it looks like he's bringing it in.
Probably a good idea. Jaime Moore, another guy last season we saw take stints a little too deep, lose track time, and lose positions as a result.
Ooh, I think Jaime Moore might have slid through his pit stall.
Uh-oh.
He's back out, so unless he's doing fuel only, even if that would have been very quick. But he is back out in third, so yeah, something's up there. He might have missed his pit, and he's gonna have to make his way around again. Ooh, tough break for Jaime.
Yeah, well, I hope that was a fuel-only stop, but I can't hardly imagine it was, unfortunately. So, yeah, boy, well, that's part of the learning curve as well, so I hope he recovers.
We'll have to keep an eye on him. And Montgomery now has moved up to P4. He's gotten past Marty for that fourth spot, which will probably end up being the third spot. We'll have to keep an eye on what happened with Jaime Moore, but Salem doing a wonderful job there.
Great rotation on the pits there by Salem Montgomery Jr.
So we're working. We're about close to 45 minutes into this race of a scheduled 2-hour, 57 lap race. We'll probably go 56. My numbers are usually off.
Yeah, maximum of 57 laps. You know, another guy I was looking at was Marty Urin. I think Marty Urin had a slow stop, as Juan Monroy has picked up quite a bit of time on Marty Urin as well, relative from when they came in.
So I got to keep an eye on Moore here, see if he goes back into the pit lane, but I suspect he overshot his pit stall, and there he goes. He's back in, so tough break for
Well, yeah, horrible break, but you know what? He had enough fuel to get around another lap, and so it's not absolute end of the world disaster for Jaime Moore. He will not make that mistake again.
Fircano into the pits. But yeah, he had a very close early pit bay, I should say. So it was right after the line, the pit line. So it looks like he came in a little too hot. So Joe LaCour is going to take over that 7th spot actually, as Fircano's in the pit lane.
So as our stops have cycled through here, I was keeping my eye on the leaders there. Andres Prieto, of course, did manage to jump Alex White, and you know, I think it's important here for Andres not to try to push too hard here early. He was holding pretty darn good pace with Alex White, even though White had a small marginal advantage. Andres is going to have to be careful not to run those tires off trying to hold Alex White behind him too long. Boy, taking a look through the order, I have to assume Phil has made his stop. Not to check on that. He's made up a ton of ground. Oh, no, I don't think he has. Yeah, it should be noted, our third place starter, Chris Moses, we saw him perhaps not quite up to pace that we might have expected. Chris Moses now running 6th after the pit stop.
I'll tell you what, this version of Sebring is definitely much nicer to look at. Done quite well. And the racing on track has matched it, so far.
Yeah, indeed, a little more technical this version, little tighter in some of the corners, a bit more fun in general, I would say. Yeah.
So it looks like White is starting to make up a little ground on Prieto. As that gap slowly inches closer.
I think at this point Alex White has to be a little worried. I would think if I'm Alex White, I'm thinking I was going to have a little bit easier of a time than this. But he's in for kind of a dogfight here. He knows he's got a little bit of pace on Andres, but just not quite enough to feel real comfortable.
So Prieto, Team Columbia, with the last pick in the draft, they end up going with the Gumpert. To be honest with you, when they made the pick, he didn't sound too enthusiastic about it. He kind of just settled for it. But I'm sure he's pretty happy with it tonight.
Well, having the opportunity to run this Gumpert in the past, I personally happen to like the car myself. So it has its quirks, as they all do, but a fun car to drive, and one that can be put to pretty good pace.
So, Brad, if you want to keep an eye on that, I'm going to run down the field here. Let's see where everybody pans out. Salem Montgomery Jr. currently P3, and Marty Uran, these two pretty close as Salem is starting to put a little bit more distance on Marty, and Salem tangles with a lap car. Ravi does a good job letting him through. Monroy, you mentioned Monroy up to P5 ahead of Chris Moses. So I'm not sure if that pass happened on track or in the pit lane. I suspect it was after the pit stop. So both Team Columbia doing a masterful job both on track and in the pits. Picking up where they left off. Consistency and points in the points. Still early though. Joe LaCour now running P7, so Joe LaCour making up a ton of ground and running a great race after serving that penalty for contact last week. As is Kevin Savoy, who's also penalized and finds himself in P8. Alejandro Nieto, P9. Newcomer here this season at NAGP, running the BMW E92. And Parsons now finally up into the top 10 after that stop. Actually got out ahead of his teammate, so those two guys running 10th and 11th. As it looks like Parsons has finally found his groove here. It looks like he's going at a pretty good pace. Starting to reel in Nieto. Meanwhile, Monahan and David Poole continue to run here nose to tail. Monahan in P12 and Poole running in the 13th spot. So I should mention Salem, Montgomery, and David Poole teammates tonight. 05 Motorsports. So both guys in the points. Matt Taylor, we saw him as the mid-pack here, has kind of spread itself out a little bit after the stops. Greg Myers now up to 15th. He must have had a great stop. So Greg in the points. Palacio and Dan Wilkerson and Thomas Schubeck now doing battle. These guys trying to get into that final points paying position. Palacio up ahead in that Viper. Wilkerson, I'm sorry, in that Jag. Wilkerson in the Viper. Schubeck on board with him in the Mercedes. Ooh, Palacio pushing Wilkerson out wide to get that good entry. Let's see if Wilkerson has a look on the inside. He does not. Schubeck doing a good job here, hanging with these guys, especially Palacio. Palacio is quite quick. Schubeck doing a great job. So Jaime Moore, after his botched pit stop, finds himself back in P19. So what was looking like a top 10 finish anyhow has just gone by the wayside as he finds himself way back in 19th. So he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to get up into the points.
Yeah, I have a quick update for you. Alex White did put the pass on Andres Prieto for the lead in that turn 3, 4, 5 complex. Andres fought back on the outside of the hairpin, but couldn't quite make it stick, and Alex White back in front.
So we just picked up that tail end of that as Alex White, as you mentioned, does make the pass. So we'll see if White will be able to gap Prieto yet again, but I'm not so sure. I mean, Prieto, like you said, well, he runs a little wide there, but Prieto is just quick enough to hang on to the back of White, but slowly but surely, I think those few tenths, lap after lap by White advantage over Prieto is enough to give him that 4 or 5 seconds lead he has before the pit stop.
Well, it's possible. Here's a couple things. Andres Prieto did hold Alex White up a little bit longer to start this stint. Also, Andres Prieto tends to get stronger toward the end of a race, especially when he has somebody to follow. Give him a rabbit to chase, and he will become faster. And Andres Prieto has lowered his time here actually to a 158.7, matching Alex White's best lap as well. So that is about a half second faster than he has run in the first stint. So I don't think it's over for Andres Prieto quite yet.
So both those guys, amazing lap times. Let's take a look at the gap. So White and Prieto running 1 and 2. To give you an example, give you an idea just how quick these two are. Third place Montgomery Jr. nearly 30 seconds behind the leaders.
Yeah, and you may want to get on that third place battle as it has heated up here dramatically.
You did mention, you did spot that as Marty Uren is now putting the pressure on Montgomery Jr. here for that third spot, final podium position.
Yeah, really tense battles for these very top positions, and it's no different in the group right behind between Juan Manuel and Chris Moses as well. Ooh, I see also there's a group 7th and 8th right behind them. Ian Jolicoeur and Kevin Savoie going right at it too, so action all over the track.
That's a battle we might have to keep an eye on, as that could end in tears for somebody.
Boy, well, we've got a pick of battles.
So I wonder if Salem may have made a mistake, as Marty is now lost a bit of ground. Well, not too much. Looked a lot. Gap looked a lot wider than it actually was.
Yeah, actually, now that I look at it now, I see a couple of bad laps there by Salem Montgomery Jr. I think maybe a couple of mistakes there has allowed Marty to pull right up.
So we've suffered some attrition here. I do see some guys, hear some guys leaving the server, but started with 36 maybe, 37, down to about 29, so certainly not as bad as last week, as we had a great start to tonight's race. Very tidy start. If you're just tuning in, you're watching live coverage of North American Grand Prix GT2 Championship Round 1 from Sebring. 2 hours of Sebring. We're about an hour into this. Still a lot of racing left to go here.
Yeah, indeed. And a couple guys you did mention in your field rundown, I'm going to go ahead and mention again. A couple of those guys are Alejandro Nieto, new driver this season, as Kevin Savoie has gotten past Ian Jolicoeur for the 7th position. John Houston running still very well in 10th. David Poole has managed to finally pick up some positions there to 11th.
Jolicoeur looks to take it right back, but ooh, nice move by Savoie, the old up and under, but Jolicoeur going to look to answer back. To Cunning. Ooh, Jolicoeur thought better of it. Oh, Jolicoeur must be chomping at the bit now. He didn't want to see that happen. You can really tell he's pushing to try and get past, get by Savoie yet again. both these guys suffered penalties last week. Savoie running 7th and Jolicoeur currently in 8th. Both these guys started from the back. Let's take a look real quick at what Jolicoeur did last week as he got, once again, he got into the back of a bunch of one of the, let's believe that was Christian. Savoie also getting into the back of Thomas Schubeck, which that caused both these guys to incur penalties tonight. But they've recovered quite well. Starting from the back of such a large field, and now we're into this race, find themselves in the top 10 and fight nose to tail. Ooh.
Yeah, have a quick update.
Ooh, we have a Aston on fire. Oh my God! So he's gonna have to bring that into the pit, into the escape out. So as that car suffers some heavy damage, it's right on the racing line. I think he's gonna have to escape out of there.
Yeah, Ravi not, I don't think, understanding yet that he's going to have to clear that vehicle, but
Ravi, the car's dead. Hit escape.
Guys at least can see that that they're coming up on him. Well, he'll understand what to do next time. So fortunately, I think all the drivers know that he's going to be out there now, and we'll be able to avoid him.
Yeah, let's hope he gets that car off the racing line and back into the pit lane.
Yeah, indeed. Just before that incident happened, not sure what happened there, but Marty Uren had a problem there, was running up there challenging Salem Montgomery Jr. for that 3rd spot, but threw it off track, and Chris Moses has gone by to pick up the 5th position.
Hang on. Ravi, hit escape.
As Al goes to work on that, I'll mention Aaron Parsons has gotten past teammate John Houston now for the 11th position. And David Poole has taken over the 10th position, so some problem or some other for John Houston. John Houston now 12th.
So Ravi has made his way, finally gotten that car off the racing line. Well, that was a spectacular end to his night.
Well, that'll make the highlight reel, just not the way you quite want it to happen, Al.
Yeah, so he went into the wall hard, and that Aston went up in flames. So, but up front here we have Prato, and as Prato's now having a look on White for that top spot.
Yeah, that gap opened up to about 1.5 seconds, and I think Alex White is starting to think about this Andre's situation a little bit, as he has not been turning the kind of lap times he was turning in the first stint. I think he is trying to open up that gap, but he's just finding it too difficult to do and overdriving as a result. Yeah, which is interesting because Andres Prieto's times are not any better really than he was doing. I think this is just a case of Alex White trying to open up that gap and pushing for a little too much. And as you watch that battle, I'll give you a quick update on Ian Jolicoeur and Kevin Savoie. Kevin Savoie is looking to make the pass for 7th, and he does, but they're side by side going through 3, 4, 5.
Well, Marty Uren has fallen back. Monroy is now up to P4. Marty has dropped back to 6, so not sure what happened to Marty, but it's allowed Moses and Monroy to get past. The Savoie, like you mentioned, Jolicoeur battle continues to rage on here.
Yeah, Marty Uren had some problem while fighting with Salem Montgomery Jr., so absolutely right. Those guys have gotten past for that position. And should give you another quick update here, Al. Between 11th through the 14th, these guys are in lockstep over the 11th position. Aaron Parsons, John Houston, Mike Monahan, and Matt Taylor running strong in 14th.
Well, I'll tell you what, I got to give Houston a lot of credit because we were following him several laps back, and Parsons was up ahead, and we expected Parsons to drive away, but I'll tell you what, Houston is only about a second and a half off his teammate's rear bumper. So Houston putting in a great run tonight. Monahan and Matt Taylor now duking it out. Go ahead, Brad.
No, and I was just going to say, Aaron was in traffic early to begin this race. Really, John Houston was out driving teammate Aaron Parsons there to start this race. So, hey, nice drive, John Houston.
Meanwhile, Matt Taylor and Mikey Monahan, these guys, seems like they've been around each other the whole night. Ooh, Taylor taking a wide line through there. As you mentioned earlier, that guys will be taking different lines through that final corner, but
indeed, Al. John Mold into the pits. Not sure what the if that's a scheduled stop or not.
so Mold in for service. Try to get that Nissan buttoned up. As Monahan now putting some heat on Houston. As the 13 through 15 positions continue to fight tooth and nail. Meanwhile, Palacio and Wilkerson. So both Jags and Vipers, both teammates going at it. You got Wilkerson and Palacio and Taylor and Monahan on the other end of it. So
that's been quite a team battle here tonight for sure. It's a little interesting to me to see Mike Monahan outperforming Esteban Palacio. Typically, Esteban will have a little bit of pace on Mikey, so Mikey's the top dog in that team tonight.
The Jags are leading both guys. So a little further back now, Greg Myers, one spot out of the points. He's got his hands full with Jaime Moore, as Moore has only picked up one position now. Fighting, let's see, about to take that spot away from Myers, so good run there by Jaime. Schubeck back at 19th, still out of the points, still a long way to go. Hurricano on his own at 20th. Mike Trussler and Christian Hamilton going at it here in 21st and 22nd. Jack Ivey back in 23rd. Ryan Story with heavy damage to the front of his Aston. He's got, I believe that was Houston or Parsons, but I think that was Parsons. Got out of the way. So Mold back out. Chuck Carter back at 27th, and that's it right now. So back out front, White has now stretched that lead out a little further now. He's kind of gotten it together now and is starting to gap Andre.
Yeah, that was a second and a half little mistake by Andre Spirito. Gave Alex White a little bit of breathing room out there, but this fight is not over as we're starting to close in here toward our second stint. Alex White may have an advantage here. He may be able to do a very short fill for his last stop with the kind of fuel economy that he can get, but we'll see. I just wanted to go back real quickly to Thomas Schubeck. You mentioned him just out of the points, but with time to go yet. You know, he's not too far out, really, of 15th place. There's a lot of groups kind of within 5 seconds of each other or so. So a lot of these guys have a lot of room to move up positions here. The gaps are not that wide.
So looking further back, that Jolicoeur-Savoie battle has softened up a little bit as Savoie has managed to put a little time between him and Jolicoeur.
They're just taking a little breather out. They'll be back at it soon enough.
So most of the field has split up for the most part, except for this battle here for that 13th spot, as Houston Monahan and Matt Taylor with a lap car mixed in between. Mike Monahan had quite an exciting finish to last week's qualifying race, managing to finish the race without his front clip and just beating Christian Hamilton to the line. It was pretty cool to watch him do that. I think he went around made one whole lap around the track without his front clip. A lap and a half right at the end.
Yeah, it was an exciting finish for him, and of course running well tonight as we work lap 33 now. Yeah, with the exception of that mistake Andre's made, slipping a little bit off of Alex White, you know, those times have stabilized, and he is holding a little bit better pace, I think, into this second stint, as opposed to the first.
So Wilkinson still unable to make his way past Palacio for that 15th spot. Got Jaime Moore now. Oh, Schubeck, it looks like he's made his way past Greg Myers. So Schubeck having a good run. He's got the leader about to go by and lets him through without trouble. So as looks like Preto also now is going to have to work his way through these lap cars. I mean through the lap cars, sorry.
Yeah, very interesting. Should make a mention once again, Salem Montgomery Jr. continues his strong run there in the third position. Haven't talked about him here in a few laps, only because he's been on his own, but Salem Montgomery Jr. turning in very competitive lap times. Juan Monroy in fourth, and Chris Moses rounds out your top five.
Yep, so yeah, pretty quiet night for Montgomery. Well, it's just quieted down, I should say. Well, he did have a pretty good battle with Marty for a while, but that Marty's mistake has allowed Salem to check out and run on his own here. So Monroy as well, and Moses, pretty quiet night for him also.
Well, it's been a quiet night for Chris Moses, but let's look at the gaps there to first place Alex White. 55 seconds now, Chris Moses in arrears to Alex White, and wow. So Moses' laps quite a bit more stable and consistent after his first stop, but still well and truly off the pace.
So the front runners have lapped up to P18. I should mention that in addition to points, team points and driver points, there's also the competition index, which is awarded to the driver that covers the most distance in a season. So those are up for grabs too. So a lot of these guys really aim for that award, and last season's winner was
Esteban Palacio, if I'm not mistaken.
Palacio, yeah. I was going to say Monroy, but Monroy won it in GT1. Palacio did, yeah, he flat out won it. If you win a driver or a team title, you can't win the competition index, so it goes to the next guy in line. But both guys in both leagues, Palacio and Monroe, both won it flat out. So neither of them won a race last season, but just very consistent runs for both guys, earning them that coveted award.
Yeah, very good runs for those guys. There's not too much more to say about it, really, except very well done and well deserved, and it was great to see.
So David Poole still back in 10th. And quite honestly, I'm a little bit surprised he's not further up here. He's got Alejandro Nieto up ahead, but still hasn't really managed to close that gap too much. Got to hand it to Nieto, who is putting in quite the debut performance here in NHEP. Here in Parsons, running in 11th. And this battle for 12th now continues to go, as Houston leading Mike Monahan and Matt Taylor. Oh, Dan Wilkerson has gotten past Palacio. Palacio now finds himself... Ooh, he's missing his front clip, so not sure what happened to Palacio. I apologize we missed that, but... Oh, man, what a tough night for Palacio. So Wilkerson finally gets past. I'm not sure if these guys got together. It doesn't look like it, looking at Wilkerson's car, but...
Marty, you're into the pits, Al.
So the pit window has opened for these guys. Palacio's pretty lucky that this damage now has happened during that pit window, so he's going to try and make it back in. Granted, he's lost a bit of time, but he may be able to make it back up.
Yeah, certainly could be worse. These guys, Esteban Palacio and Mike Monahan, of course, the front runners in last season's team championship before they just couldn't quite cap it off. So these guys are looking to make a repeat, and this is not the strongest race for them in that bid.
Preto into the pit lane.
Yeah, Preto about 2.5 seconds in arrears this time as opposed to 4 seconds last time. We'll see if Alex White can improve on his in and out time through the pits and keep that gap.
So we expect Monroy to come in. That's going to be pretty close. That second and a half is about what Andre had on him when he went by. So these guys could be door to door. So Monroy does pull in. Team Columbia on the same strategy, both drivers. So Moses is going to elects to stay out. Let's see what Savoie decides to do here. Savoie running in P6. Savoie is going to bring it in. Joe LaCour, he decides to pit in. He left it out a little early last stint. A little late, sorry. So Nieto also coming in. David Poole's going to stay out. As does Parsons. Oh, Monahan has gotten past Houston. Houston has allowed both Matt Taylor and Monahan by. So Houston has fallen back to what is 13th. So Salem out of the pit lane. So Brad, I'm curious. So Alex White pulls in. What was your? I know you did some running here. What was the tire wear like?
You know what? I didn't do a comprehensive tire wear test, Al, but it didn't seem too bad. it's hard to say. The manufacturers, the different makes of tire manufacturers are wide and varied on this GT2 set, and the cars will put them to use.
Oh. Kevin Savoy and Alex White coming together at the pit exit. I think Savoy's lollipop guy let him out a little too early. Didn't see White there, and White's lucky he managed to get into his pit lane, into his pit box. Could have easily overshot that and would have had to make another pass.
Yeah, and certainly if there's damage, it's going to be to Savoy. Alex White, of course, just coming into that stall will get any damage he had fixed.
So let's see where Andres comes out. He's making his way through turn 17. And Preto's going to come out by a while. Oh, I take that back as White now exits the pit lane and Preto takes over the lead. So replay of the last stop.
Boy, just the margin of tenths of a second these guys have run here over the last hour and a half is just incredible. Just amazing.
I'll tell you what, the gap that Preto has this time around is a bit larger than it was last stint. And, you know, I think that contact with Savoy might have helped Andre a little bit as White had a little delay getting into the pit box.
Yeah, it's possible, and so you know, this is it. Stops are done. You got to think that Alex White, given the relative pace between the two, will be able to get back up there, but the gap is a little is a little larger. So I can tell you, this is going to be more of a fight coming down here toward the end.
Matt Taylor into the pit lane. Monahan, everybody's pulling in now. Houston's in. Parsons looks like, Schubeck's got some heavy damage to the front of that Mercedes as Parsons looks like he's exiting the pit lane as Schubeck pulls in.
As stop cycle through, Ian Jolicoeur and Kevin Savoy have picked up their battle once again, and this time it's advantage Ian Jolicoeur with Savoy trying to get past for ninth.
Great stop by Matt Taylor, beats Mikey Monahan out of the pit lane. So Matt Taylor was behind Mikey most of that second stint. Beats him out in the pit stop. So let's see if Matt can take advantage of that and try and stretch that lead out. As looks like Matt might have had a little pace on Mikey, but just wasn't able to get past. So let's see how that turns out. Andre's gap over White is about 2.5 seconds. As Preto gets by Nieto. Ooh, Nieto with a big bit of a lurch there. A little mistake, but recovers okay.
Yeah, and you know what? It's interesting to see Alejandro back there. I'm not sure what caused him to fall back through the field there, Al, but you remember he was running well and truly up into the top 10 not too long ago, so not sure what happened.
Yeah, not sure what position he is in, but yeah, he was up in the top 10, I know that.
Showing us 17th currently.
So tough break for Nieto. Firmicano comes in, Poole. Mike Trussler, P13, we should expect him to come in. No, he stays out. So Matt Taylor really gapping Mike Monahan now. So great stop again by Taylor. Good job by those guys. Houston though Bit of a slow stop, it looks like, as he is several seconds behind Mikey Monahan. These guys were pretty close up until the pit stops, but Houston not such a great stop for him. And Nieto now back at 15th, so tough break for newcomer Nieto. Wilkerson in 16th. Jaime Moore running in 17th. Schubeck 18th. So Schubeck still out ahead of Myers after the stop. Myers 19th. Ferricano running in P20. So Phil Hooks and Christian Hamilton, these two teammates, running 21st and 22nd in the Z4. And Palacio, after that damage recovery repairs, he's back at 23rd, so tough break for Esty. You see Jack Ivey back at 24th in the 458. Old running 25th. Ryan Story now, he's got his car fixed. That thing was all banged up earlier, running 26th. And Chuck Carter in the tail end, 27th. So the gap remains about 2.5 seconds. Not much has changed.
No, nothing's changed yet. Alex White's tires now should be up to temperature, and he can get on with business, trying to hunt Andres down. I suspect that he will be able to pull up on the back bumper. He's in for a bit more of a fight this time. Andres will want to defend.
It's right along with our leader here for a little bit. I gotta step away for 1 second, Brad. I'll be right back.
Yep. So again, welcome to any viewers that we have tonight on Twitch TV. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you're seeing, make sure you leave a comment. You can do so here or at NorthAmericanGP.com. And if you do like what you see, make sure you click that follow button. As mentioned, it's been quite a race tonight. You've had the opportunity to see a lot of close battle, particularly this very tight battle toward the front. And then quite a few battles mid-pack that have been nip and tuck. The field has sorted out a little bit. We've seen some guys that were running well up to the front, guys we might not mention very often. Newcomer Alejandro Nieto, we've mentioned. Kevin Miller was up there. Unfortunately, he has DNF'd from this race, so Kevin Miller out after his fantastic run. However, few guys not ordinarily mentioned or newcomers, Mike Tressler and Matt Taylor both putting in fine runs still. Mike Tressler in 11th and Matt Taylor in 12th. So great runs for those guys tonight, and very nice points finishes. We should mention as well that these team points, of course, very coveted by these teams going in toward the end of the season, looking for that championship. So far tonight, advantage Team Columbia. Andres Prieto, of course, running first, and teammate Juan Monroy in fourth. So very good run for those guys tonight. Oh, Alejandro Nieto is just showing up on timing and scoring with suspension problems. Alejandro Nieto out of this race. So a great beginning to the season has gone awry for Alejandro. And that's unfortunate, showing great promise here. I suspect that it's going to be part of a learning curve for him, but an unfortunate way to end his night. I'm not sure what happened. Perhaps he had some concentration lapse with whatever mistake that he made. We didn't see that dropped him back in the field. Perhaps trying to push a little too hard to make that time back, but unfortunately out of the race here tonight. So that is going to leave us with 26 still on track out there fighting for those positions.
So I am back, Brad. Thank you. So it looks like White has clawed into Preto's lead by about half a second.
And now that you're back, Al, I'll take a quick 60-second break myself.
You got it. So now we have Monroy, as Brad mentioned, Team Columbia doing great work here tonight. If results finish how they are now on track, they will have a commanding early lead in the team championship. Certainly a favorite going into tonight. Prato a favorite to win the driver's title, and Team Columbia, as Monroy takes does a little lawn mowing there, but makes a decent recovery. So those guys definitely a favorite for the team title as well. Chris Moses actually not too far back from Monroy. He's got him in his sights, so Moses may be starting to reel Monroy in a little bit here. It is pretty early into this third stint for Chris, but we'll see how that car behaves later on as we get close to the finish. Back at 6th. Kevin Savoy and Joe LaCour, these guys still running 7th and 8th. Joe LaCour, these guys, as I believe that was Palacio. Not sure what's up with Esteban, but looks like he might be out of fuel.
What happened? What I missed?
I don't know, but Esteban's parked on the side of the road. I'm not sure what's wrong with him, but he might be out of gas or he's just parked there. So we'll have to keep an eye on that.
Oh, a disaster for Chow Mein Moto. Not the start to the season they were looking for, of course.
That's what I was going to say, but... Ooh, he might be behind into the wall! Oh, he's got a puncher. He's got to bring it in. Wow, he just lost it and right into the pit lane. So Marty, devastating. Wow. We just got on him right as it was happening. And just... the car just washed away right into the wall.
Holy smokes, and so Kung Fu Racing now. Wow, what a turn of events. Marty Urin running so strong, having some problems, and now with major problems.
So Poole's going to move up to P8, so heavy damage to Marty Urin, and wow. Kung Fu Racing, these guys, that team has won numerous team championships here at GT2. They were set for a pretty decent points night, but that might have just gone by the wayside as Marty Urin suffering heavy damage to the front of that McLaren.
Now there's been a battle I've been keeping my eyeball on here since our last stops, and that is the 4th place battle between Juan Monroy and Chris Moses. Chris Moses now just about 3.5 seconds off of Juan Monroy, and that gap has been coming down very steadily, so slowly but steadily. Chris Moses finding a bit of a groove here, finding the fast line around this track.
Yeah, we touched on that while you were away as Moses continues to reel Monroy in. We'll see if we'll see how that Mercedes of Moses does near the end of his stint. It seems like he faded a bit late both stints, so.
You know, I made mention of Mike Trussler, Al, as a guy we haven't mentioned very often. He was running up there in the 12th position, but I see now that was as a result of doing extremely long stints. So Mike Trussler has come back into the pits and is falling down the order.
So Marty Urin rejoins in 14th, just ahead of Jaime Moore. As we go on board with Jaime for this battle. For 14th, actually, Dan Wilkerson up ahead in the Viper, leading this group of cars. So these Viper boys, they have been busy all night. Not a chance to rest for any of these guys. Both Matt and Dan have had their rear view mirrors full of cars all night.
Yeah, indeed they have, and they've been doing such a great job, though, Al. Really impressed with what I'm seeing out of those guys. A strong team.
So these guys running the Viper in both GT1 and GT2 this season.
Well, given the nature of things, after this first race, you know, that team is going to be pretty high up in the order, and I hate to say it, but I don't even know what that team name is, but you know what? I'm going to find out right now and kind of keep it on my the edge of my tongue here, so we may have the opportunity to be mentioning them throughout the course of the season. I hope so.
I believe it's Team TBA.
Ah.
As Marty taking a look on the inside of Dan.
Aim High Racing now. Aim High Racing.
Are they Team TBA in GT1? I believe that's what it is.
That could be.
Marty all
Any of
over
our
the
viewers
back
are welcome
up
to.
there. Go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say, any of our viewers are welcome to chime in if they've got that info. Boy, the temperature has really come down out there on track, Al. Now 81 degrees out there on track with only a 60-degree ambient temperature now.
Yeah, so we started this race 90-degree track temp, so it's gone down 9 degrees. If anything, it would help these guys out.
Well, not necessarily. It can, and it certainly is not going to induce extra tire wear, as we see Marty now making that pass. Oh, I'm sorry, you weren't there anymore.
No, I was. Yep, Marty making the move, and let's see if Dan can answer.
Working now, lap 46, Al, so winding them down.
About 10 to go, or 9, 10, yeah.
A quick update, Al. Alex White has made a little bit of a mistake and has given up a couple seconds to Andres Prieto. That gap now 3 seconds.
Wow. So Alex White.
And while we mentioned that, we might as well mention Chris Moses now within 3 seconds of Juan Monroy.
So I'll tell you what, this would be if Prieto manages to win this race. This would be a pretty amazing victory for him, considering the pace that White has. Still got about 10 laps to go, but
well, the consistency of these two at the front has been amazing because the reason for that is they are right on the edge of their best possible speed lap after lap after lap after lap. So it's really been amazing that these guys have been able to put such effort and concentration into this race thus far. Phil Hook's in for a late stop. I'm not sure if that's scheduled or not out. It looks like it is. That's a very long couple stints for Phil Hook.
so Phil in the pit lane. So we got a Viper splitting the top two runners here. Taking a look at the gap now, 45 seconds the top two have up on P3, and a minute 4 on Monroy and a minute 7 on Moses. So wow, quite the performance by those guys. And Moses continues to slowly but surely reel Monroy in. Savoy and Jolicourt remain 6th and 7th. Poole up to P8. Parsons now 9th. Matt Taylor with a strong run in the top 10. So the front runners have lapped all the way up to 10th. Wow. And this is a large track. So that's amazing that they're able to put that many cars a lap down.
Yeah, the pace has been pretty staggering, and again, the thing that really amazes me is that they've been able to maintain it for so many laps and for so long. Just a great drive by both those two. If one of them should end up winning it, it's again going to be the most deserving of the victory. So, not sure if you have the mute going or something there, Hal, but got something going on with your mic.
Oh, sorry about that. We just saw Houston nearly stuffing into the wall. Marty now up to P13. Moore unable to close that gap on Marty. Wilkerson in the points. Let's see. Greg Myers running the points. Myers has gotten past Schubeck, who's now back in 17th. So Schubeck doing everything he can to get into the points for PMR.
Yes, he can, and very, very close to that position as well. I know that he's really fighting for it and wanting it really badly. So Thomas Schubeck is right there with 7 or 8 laps to go here.
So the gap now up front down to 1.4 seconds.
I'm looking at those lap times by Alex White, and there have been some inconsistencies in there, and that is the hallmark of this guy, Alex White. So there's no question to me that Andres has really kind of gotten into his head here a little bit, and he is pushing. He's just pushing the car a little over the envelope now and then, allowing Andres hope here. Salem Montgomery Jr. continues to hold down that third spot by himself. Great run continued.
Yeah, he's been on his own the whole night, so you gotta hand it, well, I wouldn't say the whole night, but most of the night. And you gotta give the guy credit to remain focused by yourself that long.
He did some great battling early. Chris Moses, him and Salem had quite a battle, and Marty Uren there for a little while as well, so he was last man standing of that group.
Absolutely. But once you got by there, it was just all by his lonesome. It can be, especially these endurance races when you're running by yourself for so long. You can easily make a mistake if you lose focus. That's a good thing before that we're seeing here between Andre and White, as these guys are pushing each other to the limit here. Yeah, they are just
fun to watch.
Yep.
Yep. In the meantime, thanks PLF Spurtle and RTL 74 for tuning in. Yeah, Alex White is really trying to turn qualifying laps here. I can just see that that's happening.
You can definitely see it.
A couple of 59 flats there the last couple laps for Alex White. Andres Prieto is just, in my opinion, driving a masterful race. He knows the kind of pace that he can make, and he is just making that pace.
If you're just tuning in, folks, we are about 50 laps into GT2 here, 2 hours at Sebring. We are 1 hour 40, almost 45 minutes into this race, and the battle on track you're seeing between the top 2 drivers has pretty much been like this for the entire night. Just seconds
challenging these two guys and putting on quite the performance here late, right to the end. Regardless of who wins this race tonight, it's just an amazing job by both these guys.
Yeah, indeed. And as we watch that battle come together here, I'll just give a quick update that Chris Moses has slipped a few extra seconds off the back bumper of Juan Monroy for 4th position. So Chris Moses not too close to Juan Monroy at the second. Yeah, Andres, I think Andres Cole, I think Andres Prieto's tires are going a little off, but I am starting to see Alex White starting to slide that BMW around a little bit too, and I think putting these real aggressive laps in here have worn his tires a little bit more than he would like.
Well, he's he's going for that win, so he's going to push that car to the limit, and at the expense of his tires, it looks like at this point, as this race winds down here.
Yeah, you bet. And you know what? These guys are so close to the edge. There is a possibility one of them could make a mistake of the disastrous type here in the closing lap. That it really wouldn't surprise me at this point, because Andres Prieto, now with so few laps left, is going to be very loath to give up that position.
Very what?
Loath. L-O-T-H?
I don't even know what that word means, but that's a good one.
Find a dictionary.
That's the first time I think I've ever heard that word. I'm going to have to come up with a doozy next week.
Well, sometimes the hard drive in the old brain box skips a beat and it comes up with something from the past.
There you go. I like it. Keep it up. As Alex White now really closing the gap on Prieto. The gap now 0.6 of a second. Oh, Andre with a bobble. Oh!
Uh-huh.
And there it was. You mentioned it. That could have been it.
Yep. It doesn't surprise me at all. These guys, the tires are going away. They're right on the edge, and you know what? Alex White, the same thing could happen to him, because Andres is not going to give up.
So Andre just needs to regain his composure. If he can start reeling them back in, he could force White into that same type of mistake. But it looks like Andres has slid that car off track. Got the rear kind of hung up on the curb there. He's lucky he didn't turn that car around. I mean, not that he would have been threatened by anybody behind him, as they're got about a 40 or 50 second lead over 3rd place.
Well, and sometimes that can settle a guy down when you're in that position. You've been chasing so hard, it can settle you down sometimes to get back in front, or it can kind of change the dynamic and cause you to push a little harder and make a mistake of your own. That also is possible.
About to start lap 53. Let's do a quick check to see how everybody else is doing further back. Salem, as we mentioned, all alone in 3rd. Monroy now really has pulled away from Moses. He's running the P4. Moses 5th. Kevin Savoie locked into that 6th spot over Joe LaCour in 7th. David Poole finds himself running in P8. Aaron Parsons P9. And I'll be honest with you, he's got the leaders coming up on him. I mean, how often do you see Aaron Parsons get lapped? I don't think... rarely, if ever, you see that, but may happen here tonight.
Hardly ever. Alex White made a little mistake in that turn 3, 4, 5 complex, allowed Andres Prieto an extra half second.
Andre really deep, braking really late.
Sorry, didn't want to get in the way of your field run down there, Al.
That's okay, just want to run it down before we end the night here. Matt Taylor in 10th. Monahan, ooh, with a big slide in the hairpin, running 11th behind, in front of, John Houston. Marty Uren still running 13th with Jaime Moore 14th. Wilkerson running 15th. Myers in the last points paying position in 16th. Ferracano has gotten ahead of Schubeck for 17th. So Schubeck running in 18th, and Hamilton running 19th. Mike Trussler bangs into the wall. He's running in 20th. That's pretty much the same thing Uren did, but Uren suffered a puncture there, so Trussler's lucky. Ivy 21st. Phil Hooks running 22nd. Brian Story 23rd. That car is banged up again. It was brand new when he came out of the pits, but that thing's all torn up. Bold running 24th. Chuck Carter is 25th. So we had about 10 guys quit. I see Kevin Miller out of the race. Not sure what happened to him. Oh, he had such a great run going early on, and I don't think I see him on track anymore. His teammates still here?
Yeah, I mentioned that when you had stepped away, Al. Unfortunately, he did drop off timing and scoring about 2/3 of the way through the race here. So, not sure what happened there to Kevin Miller, but I'll be interested in asking him and congratulating him on his run up to that point.
Also, both Triana brothers out. Yato out. So only 2 of the, is it 5 or 6 of the Colombian contingent remain?
Jaime Moore still on track, Al.
Oh, sorry, Jaime Moore. So Jaime Moore still out there as Andre runs a little wide. So it looks to me like Andre may be starting to fade a little bit here late.
Yeah, he certainly gave it everything he has, and he's not given up at all, but obviously pushing a little bit more than the car is capable of at the moment. And, you know, that's the way it goes. He's just going to have to hope for a mistake in front.
So he's, gap is now about 2.5 seconds. So
Working lap 53.
about to start lap 54. We got a couple laps yet to go here.
Yeah, and you mentioned that Aaron Parsons possibly getting lapped there. These guys lapping up to the 9th position, maybe. He's not going to want to be getting lapped. And it is quite a rarity.
You know, some guys, some of the leaders will, you know, depending on the gap to whoever's behind them. But if it's late in a race, the leader is content letting the guy keep his lap. But when you got someone, a battle like this with these two going at it, that gets thrown out the window, regardless of
certainly
competition index.
Yeah, and it's not going to bother Aaron at all. I mean, when it's a fight for the lead, he's definitely just going to get out of the way of those guys and not feel bad about it.
Salem Montgomery, also a tremendous drive here tonight. Like you mentioned, Brad, we really haven't talked about Salem. He's pretty much most of the night's been on his own, but truly a great drive for him.
Would have been the class of the field otherwise, Al. And I mean, you're talking about guys like Chris Moses and Ian Jolicoeur and Marty Uren and Aaron Parsons. I mean, come on. With the exception of those 2 guys out front there, Salem Montgomery has been the class of the field.
Ooh, as Chris Moses doing a little, running a little wide, but still remains in P5. Not much else has changed throughout the grid. Parsons close to getting lapped. So Matt Taylor, wow, he's really checked out from Mikey Monahan after that pit stop. So looks like Matt did have the pace on Mikey throughout earlier on. Matt, these two really had a great battle for most of the night. Houston in front of Marty. Moore leading Wilkerson. As that gap is starting to close up a little bit, Wilkerson may have a run at Moore by the time this race finishes.
You know, and I don't think Kevin Savoy and Ian Jolicoeur are quite done yet either, as Ian Jolicoeur started to pick up a little bit of pace of Kevin Savoy for that 6th position.
So that lead is about 3 seconds. However, back out front, the gap about 2.5 seconds. Not much has changed. About to start what should be the last lap. Actually, no, this actually may be the last lap. It's kind of hard to tell here in this. Without XD, it's kind of tough.
Yeah, 56, 57 laps, something like that.
Well, looks like Parsons may let him by. He does.
Yeah, Aaron is very aware of the situation, and like I said, he's not going to do anything that is going to interfere with those guys' race.
Looks like we got one to go. One to go. It's your man of the hour, Alex White, leading this race. Won the qualifying race. But I'll tell you what, it wasn't easy for him. I mean, the race isn't over yet. Don't want to jinx him, but Preto gave it all he had.
Well, after all that battle, it's nice to be able to have a 3-second lead going into the last lap, be able to shut it down a little bit. Don't want to shut it down so much you lose focus, but it's a nice feeling, and it's a rare opportunity, even for guys like Alex White.
Just one last time through the field. Wilkerson still unable to get much closer to Jaime Moore. Schubeck running in 18th. Haven't talked much about Ivy, but he's running in P21, and pretty quiet night for Jack. John Mold as well, pretty quiet night for him, running P23. Brian Story 24th, Chuck Carter 25th. But Alex White, with a dominating performance here at Sebring, taking the win. Round 1. Preto finishes second. Both these guys with an unbelievable performance. Montgomery Jr. Tell you the gap. He's not even on the Almond Straight yet, as he's getting there now. But Salem will finish third. Very impressive run by Salem. You're right. If those two guys weren't around up front, they would have ran away with it. He would have run away with it.
Yep. Well, it's been a great night for Team Columbia. They're finishing off second and fourth. They take a nice early fat lead.
I'll tell you what, I think that might be Salem's first podium.
Oh, congratulations, Salem.
I believe it might be. He won the fun race over the break, but might be his first official podium here in GT2. Moses takes fifth. Savoie is comes around the final bend. He's gonna take sixth ahead of Ian Jolicourt. Jolicourt happy with his finish. David Poole taking eighth. So good job by David to finish in the top 10. Ninth, Aaron Parsons.
Well, it was a great run.
So yeah,
Yep,
Aaron
that's it,
Parsons
yep.
was a lap down, but he's the last guy on the lead lap. So wow, what a finish here tonight! What a race tonight! Unbelievable.
Yeah, indeed. You know, in my mind, a big storyline tonight. Matt Taylor coming home in 10th place. It might be his first top 10. I was happy to see that. And, of course, the amazing battle we had at the front. And, of course, Salem Montgomery Jr. rounding out that podium. All great stories tonight.
Let's bring our winner in here tonight, Alex White. Alex, congratulations on an unbelievable race between you and Andre. Talk us through it. It was great to watch.
Yeah, thank you. I really had to work for that one. Andres got a better start, same as last week. Then I overtook him, and he got a better pit stop and ended up ahead of me. I kind of ran into John Mould at my pit stop, but that was sort of my fault. Then I got past him again, and then he had another pit stop better than me. And in the third stint, my t-shirt just drenched in sweat. That's how hard I was pushing.
Yeah. Yeah, we could tell you were really pushing hard there. What was the? You looked like you were sliding the car around most of the corners. How were the tires by the time you finished the race?
Tires were basically cheese. The brakes were either locked up or not slowing down. And yeah, my headset kept slipping off my head just because of how sweaty I am right now, which is quite disgusting actually.
Well, congratulations there, Alex. It was a great run and a very consistent job with a very tooth and nail fight, right on the edge the whole way. I was mentioning a couple times during the broadcast that it seemed to me tonight, though you put in some great, fast, consistent performances, it looked like you were thinking a little bit more tonight, lap to lap, about how you were going to try to manage this gap as Andres was not going away. Did you find yourself kind of concerned about that gap and trying to maintain it?
Yeah, I honestly didn't expect Andres to be that quick. I thought what happened in the sprint race last week would happen, where he'd have a couple of laps good, then sort of fall off a bit because of the rear tyre wear on the Gumpert, but that just didn't happen, so he must have done something to the setup.
You haven't had the opportunity to watch Andres as closely as I have over the seasons, Alex. He's like a bulldog when he gets his teeth attached. So that was a very well-deserved win. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And before I go, I also want to say well done to Mike Trussler on his first real event here, finishing 20th, and Salem for finishing third, which is a massive improvement over what he's got before.
Yep, both guys putting in a good run tonight, but the story was you and Andres, and well, max points this first round, so taking it into Sonoma? No, CS Point. What do they go by now? So CS Point next week. How do you think you'll do there with the weight in that Z4?
Well, I've won with 30 kilos before, but quite honestly, I think it might be even closer between Andres and I, or Andres will win, because the gap between us two and the rest of the field was pretty big.
Well, we wish
And-
you. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was also going to say I cannot get a rhythm round Infineon, we'll call it, or Sonoma, or whatever it's called. I've tried a bit of practice there and can't get a rhythm yet. But I'll try my best during the week.
Well,
And cheers for doing the broadcast as usual.
well, great night for you again. Congratulations, and we wish you all the luck next week at Infineon. I think that's the right word right now. So, right name. But congrats again, and good luck next week, Alex.
Cool, thank you very much.
So, there you have it. Bold prediction. Alex White and Andre running away with it tonight, and they looks like they think they're going to run away with it the rest of the season. But I think there's some other guys who are going to have something to say about that for sure, especially next week going into Infineon.
Yeah, I can promise you that those guys will not be strictly running away with it unless some of the guys behind them have some disconnects or DNFs. It's going to be a dogfight. I can promise you that.
Well, next week's race at Infineon is a new track for us. It's going to be another great race, hopefully, and we look forward to broadcasting that. Hopefully, you guys can tune in next week at 9 p.m. Eastern. Until then, Thursday night is the GT1 feature race, 3 hours from Dubai. Jack Ivey will have that for you along with Ken Rodriguez, so hopefully you guys can tune in for that. If not, hopefully we'll see you next week at Infineon. So, great night tonight. Thanks, Brad. Great job, and we'll see you guys next week.